Good morning, everyone. It's Jennifer McCreath on May 16th, 2026. Yesterday on May 15th, I recorded a video and claimed it was May 16th. I do that a lot, not on purpose, but yeah, I don't even know what day it is sometimes. But anyway, enough of that. AI. We've had some discussions about AI here in the province of Newfoundland and Labrador lately. Interestingly enough, there's been a lot of talk and complaining because AI was used to modify photographs. One was of the Minister of Tourism, Culture, and I don't even know what that department's called anymore. They keep changing it. And then about a week later, government created an advertisement promoting vaccines with a person who had 6 fingers. I'm old school. I'm not necessarily sold on all this AI stuff. I'm not convinced that a computer is smarter than a gifted human being, which allegedly I am. And I've made a few comments online, and one of my Facebook friends, a professor at our university, made a lengthy post, which not too many people do these days, so it's nice to see. And it's a great educational overview, and I want to read some highlights from that while I try to balance this camera I'm holding with my dreaded cell phone. AI has invaded all of our institutions. We're kidding ourselves to think otherwise. You can't Google without using AI right now. That is true. In fact, I would argue Google, which has been around for 30 years, maybe a few years more, is AI itself. Search engines are AI, aren't they? They comb the web to find what they think you are looking for. And I think we found out about 10 years ago, maybe, a scandal was broke. If you and I both Google the same thing, we might get different results because Google knows our history. The infamous internet cookies. They will give us search results based on what AI thinks we want to see, not necessarily what we really want to see. There's also a prioritization system where you can pay Google to, if someone searches for something that you're doing, that your results will come up first. But there's a new part of Google where you could actually choose whether you want so-called AI results or to just be taken to websites supposedly created by human beings. If you Google a medical condition, you will see AI-generated results that have been drafted and put together based on what Google has found on various websites. The problem is we don't teach AI literacy. That is so true. We do not. And I'm glad we're starting to see this offered. There are now advertisements popping up in my Facebook feed from universities offering AI literacy and AI usage courses. Now, the university policy on AI is that we can't stop you from using it, but you're responsible for the mistakes it makes. If you want to use it, know that it makes a lot of mistakes, and it's your job to catch them, including checking your bibliography to make sure the sources in it are real and are not made up. That's what really gets me. A year ago, we had a different provincial government, and they used AI to create a couple of major policy reports. One was healthcare and one was education. One, I believe, was done in-house, and the other was they actually hired a private company to draft and put together a government policy, paid them a huge sum of money, and they gave us a result that contained references to stuff that didn't exist. Hence, as a policy person, I kind of like the idea of humans doing this work. I get it. AI can be a tool to help you do your work, but in the end, it's you that has to write that report, and it's you that's responsible for it. I know people who use AI to write speeches for them, and we've even heard crazy things such as WWE Pro Wrestling is now using AI to script storylines. I'm not convinced a computer understands human emotion. And if you're going to write a script, pro wrestling, it's no different than any action film. There are what I like to call intangibles. Intangible is a great word. Google that. Not everything you can know or learn is based on theory or computer use. A lot of it has to do with human experience and human emotion. The reality is, back to the prof here, you can use it in your work, but it's not very advanced right now. So if you're using it, it may save you 10% of the time. People think it can do their work for them, when really all it can do is help speed it up a little. The problem in healthcare is we don't have enough workers. Absolutely. No one wants to work in healthcare in Newfoundland. The Liberals spent 10 years giving contracts to Marco for new infrastructure while failing to effectively retain workers and failing to effectively train enough workers. Andrew Fury, our former premier, giving talks at the nursing school was not going to cut it. Nurses want paid work terms, better working conditions, which means more nurses on the floor, lower tuition, and the travel nurse situation dealt with. We spent enough on travel nurses to pay the ones on the floors 1.5 times what they make now, and put 1.5 times as many nurses on the floor. Now we have more facilities and no one to staff them. So everything still bottlenecks at the emergency room at the health science center, and they get stuck there all day instead of going out to respond for more calls for the ambulances. There's funding to address some of these things in the budget, and there's a review ongoing. But the problem above isn't a healthcare problem. It's a government with poor AI literacy. Banning AI in government won't do much to fix the problem. AI is going nowhere. Its biggest contribution will be more monitoring of employees. Wait and see. Really? Well, that's really interesting. In a few years, government will love that side of it. AI will monitor human work. Interesting. Coffee. Interesting. I remember 40 years ago. Again, I don't know. We're going to go back to pro wrestling because it's a microcosm of life. The American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, cut a promo called Hard Times. He talked about somebody working their entire life for one company, and just as they were starting to make good money and save up for retirement, they were laid off and told, a computer has replaced you. Never forget watching that. Here we are 40 years later, and we're still trying to have computers do work for us. And again, accountability. Somebody has to be accountable for the end result. Heck, way back in my day, when I went to high school and university, we had these little books called Cole's Notes. And if you didn't want to make the effort to read the entire 500-page textbook, you could read the Cole's Notes version. In fact, I still hear people use the term Cole's Notes version as a way of suggesting they are going to summarize something for you. So yeah, healthcare is a whole other separate issue, AI or not. We can't use AI to create doctors. I don't think we're there yet. I can't go to a computer and say, please look down my throat with a microscope to tell me whether or not I have, I don't know, tonsillitis or some sort of viral infection. I don't think AI is going to perform surgery on my knee. Maybe AI can convince one of my human doctors that my knee needs surgery. That's a whole other video, though. We won't get into that. What about these restricted medications that over the years we have put people in? The pill-pushing industry. Let's just give you a pill and that will supposedly solve all your problems. It won't. Again, I digress. But access to sleeping pills. When you lose your family doctor, not all walk-in clinics will carry on with the prescriptions that you've been taking, even if you've been taking them for 15, 20 years. And I found that out the hard way. Likewise, we now have pills for high blood pressure, pills for cholesterol, pills for all sorts of things. Maybe it's time to get away from the pharmaceuticals. Focus on old-fashioned, healthier lifestyles. I don't know. Yeah. I've worked in a variety of public service, civil service jobs for the past, most of the past 32 years. And one thing that I've never understood was bringing in private contractors to do work rather than training new employees, giving them the work experience so that they can climb the ladder and do that work for you. How much money did we spend on these nurses from Saskatchewan when, as our prof said, we could have spent that money creating nurses here locally and convincing them to stay and work in our now half-empty buildings. Knowledge in and it goes out the door. Same thing with these policy folks. We paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to a private company to write a policy for us. These people aren't from here. They don't understand how Newfoundland may be different and unique from places such as, say, Toronto, Ontario, or Montreal, Quebec. And we didn't retain that knowledge. It went out the door. They dropped the final product in our lap, took our money, and went back home. And if we want to use them again, you got to pay them again. Instead, you could have had someone like myself and hired me to write that report, do the research, put it all together, and then stick around. Policies are living documents. They're programs. You have an issue. Government operates on crisis management. There's an issue. The public's angry. The 6 o'clock news is all over it. What are we going to do about this? So we react. We write a new policy based on best practices. Let's say you put someone like me into that position. Say, Jennifer, we want you to write a policy to fix X, Y, Z, whatever it is. Something I'm trained in, something I have experience in. I will go out and put together the best policy based on what the best practices are all around the world. Then I will run it through a filter. Not an AI filter, a human test. I will look, is it politically correct for the government in power? Is it affordable? Is it feasible? Is it legal? And then you deploy the policy. See if it actually fixes the problem. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. You come back a year later and review it. Okay, we've put these solutions in. Are they working? If so, how? What's not working? Then you go and revisit the policy. And you take a look at how the past year has gone. And then you adapt and you change. Have we successfully managed to attract and retain more nurses? Yes or no? Do we have enough nurses to meet the need of our growing population? Yes or no? AI isn't going to solve all these things for us. Maybe it is a great tool. I would still prefer to write my own speeches. And if I have to do research, I'll do it the old-fashioned way. If I'm going to take a picture of myself, I'm not going to use AI to give myself a sixth finger. I'm not going to stand in front of the rooms and take a picture and edit out the caribou. I don't know why people would do that. I see a lot of AI generated photos. People want to clean up their look. Oh my God, let's get rid of these gray hairs. This extra 20 pounds because I'm overweight. Let's use AI to get rid of that double chin. You're only going to fool yourself. This reminds me of 30 years ago when the internet really became mainstream. Of course, we had the GeoCities, and the Yahoo chat rooms, and everyone wanted to, I don't know, paint a picture of themselves that was perhaps not completely accurate or true. And we heard a lot of stories about people making contacts, some business and in many cases personal. A lot of romance got started over the internet. And when you actually meet the person, you find out they're 20 years older than they said they were, and maybe they're 100 pounds heavier. And people learned a lesson that you might as well not lie about things like that, because it's not going to get you very far in life. I like the idea of being true and genuine. I think maybe being a trans person, being genuine, true to myself has always been very important. What you see is what you get. And I tell it like it is. No filter. Well, sometimes. What do you think, folks? AI good, bad? Is it being used properly? Is it being used accurately? Are you seeing pitfalls, challenges that it presents? Does it make your life easier or more difficult? Would you like to see more AI training in schools? Would you like to see, the next step, of course, will be government policies, regulations. Every time technology advances, it takes governments a while to catch up and realize that this thing is real. We went from a paper-based document society to now I can just turn on a computer or even a phone and go click, 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 and I've submitted my tax returns. I haven't even had to put my signature on it with a pen. What next? Is AI going to create alternate identities for me? Are we going to be submitting AI tax returns based on jobs that don't really exist? I have no idea. This is going to happen. The scammers are always out there. How can we use these tools to cheat the system? Hopefully there'll be people that want to use it in a positive way. But these are just, there are many issues that, it's interesting that comment about AI will be used to monitor human activity in the workplace, perhaps. Interesting. Does that mean we don't need bosses anymore? We just have AI telling us what to do and monitoring our work? Yeah, that's going to go over real well. But I think it's important that we take time to review and reflect. I'm your typical Gen Xer. I grew up without all this internet technology stuff. But I'm young enough that I'm open and willing to use it and willing to learn. Whereas my parents still don't even know how to turn the VCR on and off. And nobody even uses VCRs anymore. And then, of course, there's all these younger generations. Gen Y, Gen Z, Millennials, Alphas. Every 5 years we have a generation now. I thought a generation was like 25 to 30 years. But there are people now, old enough, they've graduated from school, they're in the workforce, and they've never not known a world without the internet, and some now AI. I don't know, folks. Well, I've rambled on long enough. Have a great day, and thanks for watching.